Nosotros trabajamos duro.
Oye, bienvenidos. Subirás aquí con Jerry Rolin y Suresh, known as M. We'll just bring it back into English here now. Introduce y'all. Suresh, known as M. Jerry Rolin. This is more or less, we're supposed to be doing a photo shoot today with some beautiful models and all this. No one is here yet. We've been having good conversations about cameras and lenses and all that, so I figured we'd go ahead and start. But Jerry, I mean, I'll let you go ahead, man. We just had a good conversation. I'll let you roll with them and turn the music down just a little bit. But keep it going if you want to, man. I'm down, dude. This is just chill in California.
So I like talking about photography. I like helping people get better, and but you have to be able to use your camera, and that's to actually get better. So I would have a test that I like to have people take before they start doing photography with me, before I start helping them. And I have to be able to change their aperture, change their shutter speed, change their ISO, and change their white balance all within 10 seconds. And then the other test I have them do is change a lens in 10 seconds. Okay. And so if they can do those two things, then I figure, okay, we can have a conversation about what things. And one of the first things I do is if I have the ability to, is I lay either a ruler or I just put small objects, salt shakers or even lighters, like this in a row, and have them put their camera on their widest aperture on their lens, rather, widest aperture you can. And so that could be an f4, could be f2.8, whatever it is, f4 for that matter. Take a picture of the first item, and then see that the other ones behind it get softer and softer, meaning out of focus. Have to take a picture of the one in the middle, and see the same thing. The one in front, and one in the middle is soft, the one in the middle is not, and I'm good. And then the last one is soft. Now, this is depth of field. Okay. And then take a picture of the last one, obviously. So, and I haven't changed their aperture then to like f8 or f11 or whatever. Take a picture of the first one again, and the first thing you notice, it's black. I can't see anything. What's going on? Well, you have to change either your ISO or you have to change your shutter speed.
Right.
So, think of light as like water.
Hey.
How's it going?
Good.
Pretty good.
So light is
a podcast while we're waiting on everyone. Hey y'all, you're here with Shades of Grey on Instagram. We can stop this here at any time, but if you want to sit down and have a talk and a smoke real quick just before we start to shoot.
So anyway, the aperture is, think of water. Light is like water. Yeah. Okay. So the larger the aperture, the more water can come in. Okay. So if you have a large aperture and you want to get the same amount of water as a small aperture, you have to change the shutter speed. What we were talking about before was put on F11, take a picture, and it's black. You change your shutter speed down from 1/250th of a second down to like 1/30th of a second. It's probably going to be able to see it. Yeah. Then I tell them to go back to what the other shutter speed was, and then run their ISO up to 2,000, 3,000, whatever, and then they find out what their ISO limit on their camera is, because it'll get a little noisy. So then they get an idea what depth of field is.
Let me stop you.
Yeah, go ahead. Whatever. Yeah, go ahead.
So when you say about the depth of field, let's say the subject is here, and I have a gap. I'm not too close to the subject. I'm not focusing my lens too close.
Right.
So.
Okay. I have to give you kind of a visual. Okay. Depth of field, depending on, it varies, but my depth of field, if I'm shooting only this far away, is super shallow.
Super shallow, yeah.
Okay, if I'm shooting the fence, not depth of field, the area of acceptable focus, which means this point is going to be in focus and this other over here is not. So, the closer I am to a subject, the shallower the depth of field is, and then the area of focus is going to be very small.
Yeah.
Okay, it's because you're so close to it. So then if I go to the fence, then my area that's in focus can be maybe 3 feet.
Yeah.
Where something within that area of 3 feet is in focus, okay? And then when you shoot a long way, then your area of focus is huge.
Yes, huge.
Yeah. So, but that depth of field in the area that's in focus, the depth of field it moves. It's fluid, depending on
the distance between.
Yeah. So it takes some. Yeah. I'm glad you liked them. Cool. Good. I saw you went back out too.
Yeah, I took my friend over there.
Yeah. So I was like, I know that spot.
I've been trying to get her to bottle with us and stuff, but she's not comfortable yet. Maybe one day.
Okay. All right. So we talked about depth of field. Oh, we were talking about flash and strobe. Okay. So an on-camera, I mean, there's a pop-up flash.
Yeah.
That's different than an on-camera, which I mean, you buy a flash for it. Okay. And the difference between shooting an area with all lights coming from here, and then with the light making a big modifier. You have a big round one, and the lights coming from all different directions. A huge arc of light, so it makes it a lot softer. And where this is very contrasty, this is very soft because all lights coming all from one small area straight onto the subject. And the how lost my train of thought there. What was it?
The lighting.
Yeah, but
Let me put you on more question.
Okay.
So when my modifier is small, like let's say 24 inches, and I go till 48. So can I use my same flash? Let's say I'm using it at 200.
Depends on what the mount is in the back.
Yeah, it's an S mount.
No, so,
No. My question here is like, does the size of my modifier affects the light I use?
Oh, okay. So what you're asking is if I have a regular flash like you mount on your camera, okay, and if I put it in a huge a larger modifier, will it be bright enough to actually use it? Yeah. Well, the inverse square rule applies. Okay, so what you're talking about is if I go a foot, it's probably going to be pretty close to being the same. If it's 2 feet, then the light out here is only going to be 1/4. Because what it's doing is shooting, and it's while the light's going up from the flash out to the part of the modifier that it can see. Okay, so if it's straight out from the edges of the camera flash, it's only going to get the angle part, and then the farther light has to go, the more it falls off. Right. Yeah. So that's, I mean, the ones I have on the light stands over there, those are 250s.
250s, okay.
And those work really, really well. But I've seen some crazy 60-inch ones. And some people like a lot more power, like these 400s.
400s, yeah.
And I haven't. Now there may be a need. Somebody may have a need for. I just haven't found the need to have it because I get plenty of light from the 2 modifiers I have there. The strips and the large one. Occasionally I have had a little when I was shooting in direct sunlight like this, and I had to shoot straight into the sun. I might have needed a 400 then. But that's pretty rare that I shoot straight into the sun. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's hard to look into the sun too.
Yeah. Yes, I know.
Real quick, I was just gonna say, bro, about talking about getting a shot of the sun. There was a time I was in Sacramento, and I don't know if you saw it on Instagram. That's the only place I posted. But there's a church downtown that reminds me of a building from we were talking about Lord of the Rings, like something out of Minas Tirith. It was beautiful white and all that, and the sun was just coming behind it. It was looking like something divine. You know what I mean? Like God coming out
the
behind it.
The downtown church near the light railing that's on the left.
I think
There's
so.
a really big white one that's kind of gilded.
I think so. There's oddly enough, there's a lot of homeless people around it. They're doing construction now, but the sun
they have cameras?
They've been doing construction.
I have no idea.
Focus.
Yeah.
Focus.
I think they've been doing it for a while. I think they're doing renovations on it and things like that, trying to keep it in.
Gotcha. Well, they weren't doing work on the church, but work on that area. They're building something up in that thing. But anyway, the sun was just coming out behind the thing beautifully, and I was like, man, let me get a photo of that. And the rays were just on Interstellar, how on the black hole, they had that
just
that
rays
ring.
coming off.
Yeah, exactly. It was just beautiful like that. It had these rays coming out of there, so it was just I took a picture of it, and Yeah, man.
Yeah.
This is great, but just like really divine looking. But I was gonna ask you, how did you get into photography? Like, what kind of like inspired you into that?
I used to backpack a lot, and I just had a 35 millimeter, and it was just taking like selfies on film.
Really?
That's all it was. We were just taking pictures, and I would say, "Oh, I had an eye," and I would just pick picture. I would see something and go, "Oh, that looks really good," and I was making a lot of copies of the photos I took on these backpacking trips for my friends, and they said, "Yeah, you should, man. You should. That's a lot." So used film for a while, and then when digital cameras came out, I started using digital cameras, and kept it on auto for a while. I just was like more of a, I'm just gonna, take the pictures and let the camera do all the work. And I went to a birthday party for these wealthy, this Russia filming, this massive mansion, and their one of their daughters had their baby's first birthday, and they wanted me to take pictures of it. So they had a disco set up, and I had the flash on the regular flash. Okay, I'm not the on camera, but the attachable. And I was taking pictures in the disco, and all it was a bunch of people, because you couldn't see into the ambient light. It just looked like you were dancing in a hall. It looked awful. So I took that off and ran the ISO up really high and started taking pictures on manual, just because I was desperate. And I started taking pictures, and I went, oh my God, that's it. And so I took and they came out great, because the disco strobes, if I could catch it, it was bright, but it was bright color.
Yeah.
Bright green and bright red and bright blue, and and then multiple colors and people, and it was like, oh, this is great. So that's, from that point forward, I mean, literally the next photo shoot I did, I was in manual.
Cool.
And but what I read, it was a YouTuber somewhere that somebody said, put your camera on auto if you've never been to a situation before. You walk in and you have no idea what to do. Put it on auto, take a couple pictures. The camera will tell you, this is what I think. The camera's got a little brain. It says, camera's designed, that's what full auto does. It tries to take the best picture possible.
I like that interpretation there.
Right, okay. So it takes a picture, and then you go into info on that particular photo, and it'll tell you what the aperture is, what the shutter speed is, what's the ISO, what's the white balance, what's all that stuff. So then you go to the manual, then you set it from there, and then you adjust to whatever you want to do it for that particular situation.
Yeah.
You want to make it moody, make it a little darker. If you want it to be more like Yahoo, we're outside having, then but you put it on auto first, and then you go from there. So that saves some time.
Gotcha.
And don't be afraid to change parameters on your camera. Don't just still always wide open all the time. F2.8 or 1.4. Sometimes step it down, make it a nice depth of field. Like we were shooting at I'd been shooting for up close. I had a wide open because I was getting the natural light.
Yeah.
And we get to a point, but then we were seeing the rocks at the end, and I was shooting. So it was out of Folsom. So there was her, Jamie sitting on the rock. There was some rocks behind her. There was a ridge line of Folsom Lake, and then there was a ridge on the far side of the lake.
Okay.
So I wanted to get all of them in, so I had to go from an f2.8 up to like 8 or something like that. Then I had to go slow the shutter speed down a little bit and pump the ISO up a little bit to get the exposure that I wanted. And I underexpose 99.9% of the time.
You can do it in post.
And then edit in post, because if you lose your highlights, you're hosed. You can't bring them back.
Gotcha.
The only thing about trying to bring your highlights down when they're 100%, they're white, it just turns them gray. So you always want, and your highlights you want to have detail there. Shadows, you don't need to have as much detail on the shadows. But I underexpose because it's just easier. Then I can go in, because I don't want to lose skin tone either. If you got bright spots on skin, it's really hard to get them back in post.
Yeah.
I've got Lightroom, I've got Photoshop, and I know how to use them, and I've been using Lightroom a long time, and you just can't, you lose the highlights, you can play around with it, but you can't really make it work, so I was underexposed, and just because it gives me a lot more room to play with, especially raw files.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Me, I shoot in RAW, and I do that because a friend of mine, Dakota Sabo, I'll give a shout out there, so to speak. Like he kind of like told me, he was like, yeah, professionals kind of shoot in RAW, but we were shooting cinema at the time, like film, you know what I mean?
Right.
But I also have like been told like, yeah, even true photographers shoot in RAW. It's a lot better to.
Yeah. So what RAW represents? All right. So there's RAW and there's JPEGs, and there's TIFFs, there's PNGs, but we'll talk about RAW files versus JPEG.
Okay.
So the camera I have, it'll shoot 24 megabytes a file, and that's in RAW format. Okay. JPEG is a compression technology. Gotcha. So what it means is it takes and I read how the JPEG, how it the algorithm that it goes through to compress, and it was like, it was long read. It was a really complicated. In essence, it reduces the amount of colors and it reduces the detail. So if you go from a let's make it to 20, say a 20 megabyte file, and you make it a 4 megabyte JPEG, you're getting 1/5 of the detail and the color. Now I say color, there are within RAW there's probably 16 million colors, I think, in full RAW. Okay.
Yeah. Wow.
Well, so what that means is if you put it in JPEG, then instead of having, let's see, it's 7 million shades of red, you're only going to have maybe 5,000.
All right, and that's still a broad
It's
number.
I mean, these are probably not exact number, but,
Okay.
but you get the idea. Figure 1/5, 1/6 as much detail and color and shadow. You're just losing a lot of the subtleties of the shadows, and you're losing a lot of subtleties of the color because there's not 10 million reds anymore. There's only 5,000 or 4,300. And the smaller the JPEG compresses, you're losing more and more again detail, and because pixels are combined as well. So you'll have 4 pixels combined into one. They'll take an average of those 4 pixels and find out what the average color is and brightness and color, and then it'll make that 1 pixel as 4. So, and then it'll do it again. Sometimes if you do compressing more.
I think, Jerry, are you good too?
I'm good.
Yeah, that's pretty good stuff, man.
So, and then when you do a JPEG and you close it, you close the file, it's cooked.
Okay.
Yeah.
Those are the changes. That's it. Whereas a RAW file, what it does is there's a separate data file that is associated with the picture itself. That data file records all the changes you make in your post. If you're editing in Lightroom, it's just because that's pretty common. If you're editing in Lightroom, it saves all the changes as a file. So when you close Lightroom, you close that, you go to another file, and then you close the Lightroom and you go away and you come back a month later, you go back in that file, you're going to be back exactly the same spot you were before. Because it remembers it. Now then I say, no, I don't like any of those things. I can do reset, and all those changes that I made to the file go away, but the original file's still there.
Yeah.
Imagine a RAW file is like a negative, okay? And you have a negative, and you can do multiple copies of the same photo off that negative. Like Ansel Adams would he considered it, the negative, to be a symphony written by a composer, but composer, but then the orchestra director interprets the music. So Ansel Adams would take one picture.
That, man. Okay, cool, man.
That's the way it works.
That's like that philosophy.
Yeah, so he can pick and change how the orchestra sounds, right live. Because no, I think tonight I'm going to make the violins not quite so bright. Whatever. So Ansel Adams would go in and he would take the same negative and do multiple versions of it. So then he would say he would have those, but as a RAW file, that's what it means. So you can make all these changes to it, and then I've got files going back 10, 12 years, and I can go back in there and see. I could reset it if I wanted and start over again. It's going to be the same thing. So that's why RAW is really good.
Right.
But if you're limited in drive space, or you're on a trip and you just can't take raw files because you're going to run out of memory memory cards. Then you shoot in JPEG, but you shoot large, big as you can. So I've shot a couple time lapse, and then I shot really tiny JPEGs because it didn't make any difference. The detail wasn't that important, but I needed to be able to function. I've shot, I don't know, like 45 minutes, and it was like rain clouds. But the point was I had like 1,500 photos that I needed to edit, and you can't do sync on 1,500 within Lightroom unless they're really tiny little files, and then you got to transfer it all out, and you got to put it in the secondary software to do your time lapse. So, but raw files, yeah, that's the way to shoot. But it just takes up a lot more space on your memory card, in your camera.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it takes up a lot of space, but you're getting much higher quality.
Yeah,
photos.
I was going to ask now this question now, because I've had to do this before, where I've had, I have to delete some files or something, but at the time I'm like, I can't delete anything yet, but like I'll have to shoot or I'll edit in a JPEG format just because the space and all of that. And I've still gotten pretty good, but I prefer raw. It's like once you go there, like, oh Jesus, man, I can
How much computer space do you have?
Well, I'm good now, but I'm just saying.
Well, I'm just curious.
I don't know. I have a 2 terabyte hard drive, so I'm still really good on that.
Okay.
So that's
how much.
I save everything and do everything on that. So
no, that's 2 terabytes. That's good.
I have 1 terabyte on my system, but I have an external hard disk, so I store my photos there. Just I did it here and store it here.
So how much is on your external?
External I have 8 TB.
No, I mean how many terabytes?
RAM?
Yeah. How big is it?
8 TB RAM. 8 TB is my hard disk, and my RAM is 16 GB.
Okay. So you have 18. You have
16 GB RAM.
Okay.
And 8 terabyte hard disk.
Okay, 8. Okay. All right. So yeah, 'cause I've got 2 8s and a 4, but it just because I have so many more photos. But yeah,
Okay.
but you guys and back up all the time. Keep
Okay.
back.
I back up. Once I edit, I just move it.
Right.
that's another thing too. So I didn't mean like, but that's like I need to get another 2 terabyte that I'm just gonna make specifically just the backup to the computer. You know what
absolutely,
I mean?
yeah.
And then not use that thing
I think
until.
there's a deal in Costco now. You're getting like 8 TB for like $100.
Oh really? You can get a good Seagate down at Walmart though, brother. 2 terabytes for like 50 or something.
Right.
Okay.
So.
Okay.
Right.
You guys know what frisbees are?
Which is
You know what a frisbee is?
You're talking about the literal plastic toy,
Correct.
right?
Okay.
Cool.
I worked for an electronics company. Oh, I'll tell a story later because it's got nothing to do with cameras.
Right.
But it does have to do with drive space. So I'll tell you a story later after we finish our little thing here. So also we talked about depth of field. We talked about strobes. It's like for strobes, it's weird that the closer you are, the softer the light is because people confuse the intensity of the light with softness. And getting closer actually makes the light softer because it's coming from more different direction with you.
And real quick, I was going to say, now, whenever you're being shot by a photographer, do you care at all on what they're shooting? Like if they're in RAW or JPEG? Like, are you worried about that, or do you trust the photographer just enough of the shots so you're like, I don't care, I'm going to model?
Well, if you don't know the photographer, I mean, it does seem to benefit to shoot a couple of times and then see how it goes.
Gotcha.
Because, they might shoot different styles. It also depends on what you're doing at that exact time. Like, when you're coming to an event like this, sometimes there's specifics. They want you to model a certain thing or a certain way. So you have to go with that, too. And indoor and outdoor definitely makes a difference as well. So
Gotcha.
I kind of see how it goes.
Right on. And like real quick, like what kind of led you into getting into modeling, and like how did it kind of happen? You know what I mean? Like was there ever an original interest or?
There's always been an original interest, and I just started seeing more people locally that were doing modeling and things like that, and then there was a kind of like an open shoot day, so I just came to one of those and it kind of went from there.
Oh, okay, that's tight. And was it with the 420 nurse? Like what?
Yeah,
what was, okay.
It was the 420 nurses.
Right on.
It was a lot of fun.
That's pretty tight.
So far, I've had fun at all the events.
Rock and roll. Yeah, I've seen a couple of them so far, but I never really like chatted with you much or anything.
Yeah, the last one I think was over with Danny's up there.
Yeah.
There was that one.
Yeah,
And then we shot day before yesterday,
Yeah.
which was a lot of fun. It was really nice out there. Oh my!
It is.
Folsom Lake, that's where we were shooting. We have a secret spot though.
It's a nice spot.
And real quick, since you're talking about shooting, like I know we got, like I can continue talking with like Suresh. I know we're like you have your setup already, so I didn't know if you two wanted to go ahead and start shooting.
We're gonna have to move that because now it could be.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I was looking at, I was
around.
noticing the light and all that kind of thing.
It was
so.
flipping around the other way. No, I don't know if the sun's gonna be shining through so bright we can't use it that way. So we'll have to see.
Gotcha. I mean, we got that too. Also, underneath the tree there. I don't know what your thought is on.
I'd have to stand in the pool.
Yeah. Or like shoot across it in the sun.
Maybe like by the bush, the purple bush, you might be able to get an angle that way.
Yeah, we'll figure something out here.
It's all outdoor today. All outdoor today.
Oh, it's outdoor. There's indoor. The outdoor is the main theme today for sure.
Okay, and I think Tanya said she brought merchandise.
Yeah,
and
it's
stuff like
all in there. She said
Okay.
she brought Nasty Army, Implied Plus, for Sacktown Chapter, all kinds of things like that.
that. Okay. Yeah, because I know they were saying to kind of do some merch base.
Right, and there is glass as well. And I can probably all I gotta do is clean this out, and then it can look good if we want to use that in a
they
shot.
probably have at least a handful, if not more, in there.
Yeah, I think it'd be good. All right.
Put some of those up. And you got the bag.
Yeah. We're gonna promote hardcore here, man. So feel free to shoot the bag if you want to take any shots. It's all good.
So was that helpful talking?
Yeah.
Cool. Good. That's people listen. It's good. It's good.
I have a feeling a lot will. Like, you get a lot of good information. I'll probably listen back to this a lot. I'm like, hang on, what did Jerry say? I'm like, all right, let me use that information there.
And the one thing that I do is I try to take pictures in as many different situations, as many different locations, and as many different people as I possibly can. Because going somewhere you've never been, you have to adapt.
Yeah.
To figure it out, and just makes you a better photographer overall because you're stretching your skills. That's just the only way to get better. So, and I've seen a lot of photographers that have the same style, the same picture over and over and over again on social media, and they have a niche. They like it, but it may be successful for them. I just prefer to have different genres and different lighting and backgrounds and all that stuff. So, but that's just my personal preference.
Yeah.
Art is just like there's no. I had a long discussion with two other photographers about is there such thing as a bad photo.
I remember I was there for that. Yes, I agree. But yeah, I agree. There is.
Were you there? Were you with that? With
that was at the Red Rabbit, right? Red Rabbit. We had done the Easter shoot.
Oh no, I had it with. I know, but there was.
Okay, we had a conversation.
Yeah, we had a conversation. Right. But one of the ones because they were like, it was really it's a philosophical question.
I think it depends on how you would use the photo. You know what I mean? Like if it's like you're trying to.
Now that's an interesting take on it. I had not thought I should. Oh, that would be okay. I'm gonna crush him. Thank you.
But okay, from the artistic standpoint,
no,
I say
there's
some things I would not put that out there, but I might show and say, hey, like okay, here's how I would use it. I'd be like, this is a bad photo. I would say,
right,
and I would say this, like I'm representing it. If you're, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
if someone like,
exactly.
and I'm not counting that and saying, because I'm interpreting this in art too. It's like, say you have a photo. I'm just going to use war, like Ukraine, something's going on. What if there's like a photo of like someone shot like dead, and it's a beautiful, like it's like almost an artistic like looking photo. But again, that's a horrific scene, right? and that's like someone's dead.
Well,
it's
someone
bloody, but,
hires
like,
you to do a specific
but then
thing.
that's like someone like taking on a specific take. But yeah, but that's a different metaphorical one versus. But I would say if it looks beautiful, or if it's getting something to a point, it's like, oh my god, it's so grotesque. Like you're seeing the horrors of war. You're seeing what's going on. You know what I mean?
Well, but
So,
let's
and
say
that I'm using the war thing, but I'm also. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to like overstep you. I'm just
well,
trying.
no.
Okay,
I like what your thought was.
Yeah.
About the specific, but can you say, okay, because we were talking strictly artistic,
Right.
and I mean, like the photo is out of focus and it's underexposed, and it's technically it's terrible, but is it a bad photo? So that was the thing. It was art. So it's art, and can art be bad or good? You can judge it by how popular it is. But that's just a popularity contest.
Right. I agree with that.
Yeah, it's like, and I was like, well, you can. I just thought you could have a bad photo. But then we just started talking about, well, what is bad? The unpopular, and then technically correct is like, well, why does that matter? Mm-hmm. Because there's rules of photography. There's photographers that break them all the time. Like, oh yeah, I get it. You can keep being creative, but so there's almost no answer to that question, because it's art, and is there a bad photo?
Yeah.
You can see what your definition of bad is and all that kind of stuff. So
It's definitely opinion based.
I agree with it there too.
Oh yeah, it's opinion. It's like what kind of food do you like, or what kind of music? Why do you like that? What are you asking? That's a stupid question. It's music. I like whatever I want.
It's like someone saying like with the food. It's like, oh, like we want to do like being like, oh man, I would never eat like pho or something like that, but I love McDonald's. It's like, what the fuck? You don't like you know what I mean? It's like, yeah.
The favorite question to ask most people is, what are the foods that you hate? Everyone asks what you like.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
what do you
that's a
not
good
like?
one.
It makes it a lot simpler. What
Bell
do you like a lot of
peppers,
stuff?
and lima beans. There you go.
Brussels sprouts.
Oh, I love Brussels sprouts.
I think it depends on how you cook those. A boiled, disgusting, but like if it's like Asian style, like cooking it, like you fry them and all that, and you put it with like
Garlic and stuff.
yeah, dude, it tastes so
Steam 'em.
good, it's sweet. Like a sweetness comes out. It goes, it changes. Same with cabbage. Like I don't like cabbage really, but if you cook it up, it brings out a whole like different flavor, man. It's beautiful.
Because normally it's kind of a bland thing, so yeah, you can add spices or flavor to it.
Oh, you steam them. Steam them. Put a little salt.
Oh yeah, I put those in a skillet, and I don't know if you call it like frying it. Really, I don't burn them like to a crisp, but that's how I kind of cook it.
Hey, let's switch that thing around.
Hey y'all, hope you've enjoying this podcast so far. We're gonna take a little bit of a break since Jerry and them getting ready to, do the shooting and all that. We'll continue a little bit after these commercials again. Look at this. You got hint. I'm drinking cherry flavor this time. God. Oh my God, so delicious. One thing I love about drinking hint, I feel like I'm a fucking exotic traveler, dude. Like, this is better than going to Persia. I'm in the back, look at this. I'm almost in Persia. Got that nice pool back there. Drinking this water. Oh my God. I'm just missing, like, a fine goddess that could, like, seduce Odysseus. Where's Cleopatra? But anyway, talking about all the Cleopatra and all that, we don't need Romans. We don't need gladiators here. What, you gonna get liquid death? You gonna get that moron water? You know what I'm saying? Liquid death is what you want to drink if you're wanting to pretend you're drinking beer or something. Like, oh, I'm bad. Look at me when I'm drinking. Wait, you don't got taste? You don't got style? You don't got flavor? I know. Yeah. And then you might see, but Chris Hint's in a plastic water bottle. Hint's in plastic. The turtle. The turtle, what are you going to do? Fuck you. The turtle's going to be fine anyway. And guess what? You want to bitch about, bottles and glass and plastic and and little tin cans. Look at this. You know what this is? Hint. Hint is the same thing I'm drinking. Hit cherry. Cherry, pop your cherry with hint. That's what I'm saying right now. It's like a juicy juice. You put this in a kid's bottle. They don't put any sugar. They don't put any nonsense in there or anything. This is just good flavored water. You want your kid to like. I'm not gonna say Egyptians. You know why? Well, because I'm Jewish and original slave runners. We ain't gonna go there, but you know what? Build your own pyramid, bitch. Anyway, so drink like a Persian though. Beautiful. And this and that. You know what I'm saying? Because you're going to get there, and you're going to get your liquid death and all that, and you're going to be at the river like, oh yeah, I'm drinking beer, and guess what's going to happen? I want to be out here with my little, beautiful Corona, and then you're going to get the cops called, and they're going to come looking at me and go, oh, I'm drinking my liquid death, and then they're going to be like, oh, well, what do you got going on here? Nothing. Well, it looks like, yeah, I'm minding my business, and you come knocking. So just get rid of liquid death. Just don't drink it. That's just for morons that want to pretend to be somebody. You know what I'm saying? So just do an honor for yourself. Drink hint. Pocahontas would drink it. And I'm not saying that because some people have said I look like John Smith. That's just coincidental. Now, let's get back to this podcast. Alright, Jerry, so we're back. We had a good, eventful day. Finally is shooting. I know you're kind of,
we're good.
Feeling a little, yeah, you're good, we're good. We're, everything's good, we're all groovy. Yeah. But I know you're, feeling a little bit, perturbed a little bit. No. Like, I was going to say, yeah, but let's talk about...
There was some non-productive time here today.
Gotcha, yeah, we could say that.
And it wasn't from lack of effort from the photographer's side. So, but that's the reality. I'm not going to dwell on it, but yeah, there was some too much non-productive time here today.
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of what led into this. Let's get this podcast going. Talk about photography until you saw the first model when she showed up.
It was fun talking to you guys about photography.
Yeah, that was great.
You guys were learning stuff, and I was like, cool, awesome. So it was fun. I enjoyed that.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, because that's what I was continuing about is working in photography, but also working with talent too, and sometimes times. Because I'll just say in my experience, I've had everyone's prom on time and all that, and then somewhere people don't show up till a couple hours in. And I'm sometimes gonna be at fault for where if I'm the talent more or less
That is I've worked I've had. I told you, or I think I said, I got 4 or 5 models that I know they're going to show up, period.
Right.
I just know they are. I would be shocked if they didn't. Now, that's, or if they tell me something extraordinary happened, I would believe it.
Mm-hmm.
But there's just too many people who don't take it serious. So, and I end up not being really psyched about working with them again because
I hear you
have to, if you have to book studios and stuff, you can't be late because the studio's charging whether you're shooting or not.
Right.
Being charged
Yeah.
For
You have this amount of money that you have to pay, put down.
Right. So, and the models I was talking about, 4 or 5, they take it serious.
Right.
And so part of being it serious is showing up on time with the fits ready and makeup good or very close to that.
Mm-hmm.
Or tell me, okay, well, I'm going to need to get ready when I get there, but be on time. So okay, that's fine. I'm done with that. But unproductive time is it's frustrating.
No, I 100%. I feel that way too. It's sometimes because you don't know too. Someone's oh, hang on a second, is this person only on a show now or what? So I follow.
Yeah, and it's hard to take people serious when they do that. So, but today was
exactly.
Yeah, it was. We had some serendipity though. We had the backdrop over here. We put it up, and the light was shining through it with the tree branches.
Yeah, and
it looked really cool. So we did. I mean, the people that were here, we got some good photos of them. Yeah, absolutely. And that's kind of where I focus on what happened that was good, because it's just a spiral drain. It happened and whatever.
But that's my thought. I was just saying once the models and everything arrived, once we started shooting, dude, everything was going pretty nice. I got to say, I think we worked really well with everything.
And I said we had Jamie was really accommodating today. Yeah, because she was like, took pictures with me, but took a lot with you and a lot with him. So and I'm glad to see she's
versatile,
feeling more comfortable in front of the camera.
Gotcha.
So that she's more relaxed and she understands posing a lot better and stuff like that. So that's cool to see her, change that. And I think both you and Em, learned something today.
Yeah, no, definitely.
There's some stuff. I mean, I think Em had about the difference in the size of a flash versus the size of the umbrella, the modifier.
Yeah, because I wasn't really familiar with that at all.
And he was, you had a little light bulb moment. Oh,
yeah,
I get it. So that's always cool. I mean, it's today wasn't rocket science. I'm close to home. It's not a bad day, So it's not. I got some pictures today. I got some good ones, so I'm not bad.
Yeah, I thought so too. It was just like I knew, I'm just getting into, like I said, you're just kind of perturbed a little bit about time, and I get that 100%. If you're paying for a space and all, and it's like, hey man, this is money. If you get here, we can't dilly dally. Now we got to really shoot these out.
Right. Yeah, it's frustration is frustration, but I'm not really one to let I'd be the focus, because it doesn't really serve any purpose. And it's a situation where it wasn't anything serious, and they were just playing around today. Right, it was okay. The weather wasn't bad, so and the light was really good late on the afternoon. Like we were shooting early just a few minutes ago, and it was just beautiful.
Oh yeah,
light. Yeah. So that's okay.
Yeah.
And you got some pictures of Christy. You got some pictures of. Is her name Faith?
Yeah, Faith.
Faith, yeah.
Jamie, Lauren, very good, different scenes, and every one of them, every shot pretty much different. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't any kind of copy. They all look, man. We expanded, explored.
Yeah, so you had a good day too, yeah. So
yeah, it was a great day, man.
This means we got to take more pictures with them individual models than having to go click, and then go into here, that kind
right.
of stuff. So that's good too.
No, it was a great day, and again, we had talked earlier on how you kind of got into it. When was the first time you worked with a model or anything, or and what would you say was your first someone was oh hey, we want you maybe to take a picture or photos of this band of a way, what was it the first one kind of would you say?
I was I'd been going. I for some reason, I just got a wild hair, and I went to a cosplay event. It was a SAC anime, probably 6 or 8 years ago, maybe. And it was the first one I'd ever been to. It was at a Holiday Inn. Now it's huge. It's really weird. It was like a Holiday Inn event center. And people were in costume, and I expect, because it was late. People were getting there late. I was like, what are we doing here? But I went. They started showing up, and it was like, these really good costumes. It was I was impressed. So I really enjoyed it, and I met some people that I still know now. A couple, and then another guy who plays Gandalf all the time. So I see them at all the events. So I started. Well, that was fun. So I went to another one, and I went to another, and I went to another. So I started going to them on a regular basis.
Okay.
And I really enjoyed it because it was really fun costumes, and I started see the same people, other photographers. So I go there, and I know a handful, 6 or 8, no, probably 5 photographers that I know from other prior events.
Yeah.
And then same thing with cosplayers. So started doing that, and then I'd gone to some model group shoots.
Okay.
And I met a model there, and I did a shoot with her, and then I met a friend of hers, and then she came to a shoot where he was there. So I did a shoot with her for the first time. That was a model shoot. That was where it wasn't a little convoluted there. Sorry.
Oh yeah, you're all good.
That was the first time I did a model shoot where it was at a B&B.
Okay.
It was a group shoot, so I got to shoot for maybe 10 minutes, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then she knew other models. Then the one had put the shoot on, had a series of them, Okay.
And so I went to all of them, and I met additional models there, and then started setting up shoots. I met a couple girls that I'm still friends with now. It was like 4 years ago, maybe. So that's how it started. It was, and then going to Ren fairs.
Ren fairs.
Renaissance fairs.
Okay, Renaissance fairs. I got you.
Yeah. So there's one in Folsom. There's one in Plymouth, and you go there, and it's a completely different vibe because everybody's got leather on and burlap. You can drink beer there.
Okay.
The swords are sharp and pointy, and they're real. And the arrows. I can tell a story how they manage that, but it's a different thing.
All right.
So I started going there and taking pictures of all the and girls are dressed really like provocatively with boobs coming out.
They're in that Renaissance.
Yeah,
flair.
they're overflowing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so for the guild, if you just real quick, if you have a sword and you're a member, you're a sword guild. The guilds are responsible for managing the people within their guild. So when they're walking through the crowds and stuff, those halberds and swords and other stuff they are very, very careful and they're very disciplined with it. Because if you're not, the guild will get kicked out of the Ren fair. Won't come back. So the guilds manage the sharp, pointy things. So bow and arrow people, same thing. They manage that guild, and it's usually only a couple guilds for each one of them. So that's how they manage that. But anyway.
All right.
So then I started doing. In the last 2 years have been really doing a lot of portrait photography.
Oh, okay.
And also spending a ton of time learning how to get better. Actually, the last 3 years probably. Where I've just been really focusing on it and reading, articles, watching YouTube videos. It's a good way to learn. YouTube videos, and a lot about more artistic portion of the shooting.
Oh, okay.
Not so much a technical thing. Studio shooting, I still look at the videos a lot. To use one flash, one strobe, or use two, where to put them for a specific effect. A whole different thing there. And that's if you're going to be in a studio, the pictures need to be perfect, technically.
Right. Okay.
Because you have a completely controlled environment. So be careful you shoot in a studio.
Light. I got you.
Yeah, if you shoot in a studio, then you need to have everything right, perfect on, because it's a completely controlled environment.
Yeah. All right, I follow that 100%.
So if you're outside, then you have different sun's moving, clouds are moving, whatever. So you got some leeway. So if you're going to shoot studio, then you have to have the technique to make it look good.
Okay.
So there's a lot involved in that.
So that said, do you think you might have, and again, this could probably be looked at like, do you think you have more creative freedom in an outdoor environment versus an indoor, or what do you think?
Of course, yes,
okay.
yes, without, yeah. Because you can bring a few props in.
All right.
In a studio, but you can't bring. Something like you can't bring a motorcycle into a studio. You might be able to in some studios.
In a very big, we're talking Hollywood studio size.
Yeah, or somebody's got a garage they turn into a studio.
Okay.
Or large animals, or waterfalls, or snowfields, or redwood trees, or beach, sand.
Oh yeah, those are a lot more.
Yeah, so because you're kind of restricted within a studio.
Yeah.
The lights themselves.
The wind's kind of picking up, but check it real quick. I think that's the gate closed. Oh, someone's out there. He must have shut the gate.
So that's why you got to be really. If you're doing studio, you have to be really technically accurate in your photos.
Gotcha.
Because you're expected to be that way in a studio. Because it's a very controlled environment. But yes, outside, you can be a lot more creative outside. I want to do a Lady Godiva.
Really? Okay.
Do you know who Lady Godiva is? No. Okay.
I do, but I don't, man. I really don't. Let's be honest.
It's a story. She rode through her medieval town naked on a horse, but she had long. She put her hair was really long. She cut everything. So she made a deal with the king. If she did this, they would lower taxes in the city, in the kingdom. So, but it's a very famous early Renaissance character. So, and people do it all the time. People own horses with long blonde hair or long silver hair, whatever.
Yeah,
that's just, right. So it's a meme everyone sees. So
yeah, like they almost even do it in the song remains the same. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah, planting the horse and all that.
Right. So so there's two completely different environments: shooting outside and shooting in a studio.
Gotcha.
And I was watching a video today about shooting in a studio with how the model really had to sell it, where she had to have expressions. You have to have be able to create a look with your face, with your eyes,
right,
and with your posture and stuff like that. Right, and that if I have a studio and then I get everything dialed in perfectly, the light, everything. So now it's up to the person in front of the camera to do their part.
Right.
Click, 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 poses, expressions, emoting, drawing the viewer in with their eyes and expression. I mean, I keep saying that, but that's what you have to have.
Yeah.
Because if everything else being equal, the studio is, everything else is perfect there, or close you can, then the model has to, ball's in your court, bing, there you go. And you can get some great stuff. Because people, you get a good rapport, you can collaborate, you get a good rapport going with them, and you can just go wham, 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 and just bam, and you start looking at the pictures together and going, oh, this is so hot. It happens to me all the time, because I'm pretty comfortable shooting in the studio.
Yeah.
And then in picking models that take it serious. That's the other thing. You know, show up, be ready, and take it serious.
No, 100%.
Yeah.
Like, again, like I know like just with like time, like earlier and all that, just seemed like the thing. But kind of continue with the lights and all.
Yeah, of course.
Because again, my background, I want to say, was more like film and all that. Like I never really shot on film per se, like sort of like. But anyway, it's mostly always been digital, but it's always been more like the cinematography, video, film kind of concept, where I want to get really more cinematic. And my background has always been more adjusting the light with that. And I find you can kind of do. Oh yeah. Shoot, let me look at that.
We're live.
Yeah. Get like the dogs all nervous, like jumping around. But who knows? But again, but like for lighting and stuff, it's like you always kind of want to make sure it's working like well, like the actors in focus. Like if you don't want to have shadow over, if there is a shadow, it has to be kind of.
Well, it depends what your mood is.
And there's also mood lighting. You know what I'm saying? That too, and I like it whenever there's a stylized, like saying like you have like maybe hyper violets, hyper reds, some kind of colorization like that. You know what I mean?
There was I do like Photoshop.
Yeah.
And within Photoshop, you can go in and take the color palette of a specific movie.
Yeah.
And you can go in and literally take the palette, because every movie has got a color palette that it's using for the film. And if you look at some scenes, there'll be only one or two colors in some scenes.
Right.
Or maybe two or three even. So, but like Dune, Dune had a very specific color palette.
Okay.
And if you look at it, you'll notice that even when they're inside and not in the desert, it has a very specific color palette.
Also, I have not seen Dune, like I'm sad to say. I've seen the original one, parts of it, and I couldn't make it all the way through that when it kind of had.
Yeah, that wasn't a very good version. But anyway, so what I try to do within my photos is sort of like for lighting is I try to create a color palette that matches. Like I showed you the pictures of the dancer, the background, same background, but I just wanted to change the color of the background.
Yeah.
So that creates a color palette, because then she had a purple dress, so I think it's green as across the color wheel from purple, and so I made the background green, so they're complementary colors, so they pulse it together, and I try to do that with a lot of stuff where I can sometimes change the color of the dress or a blouse or something a little bit more to where I want it.
Okay.
And you can create a color palette for a series of shots. And that color palette starts with lighting, though. You have to have the light
right.
You know.
Yeah, and the white balance and everything's
Correct.
set too.
Because you're going to mess with a white balance in a minute. Because you're going to mess it all up. Because you're going to make it all like orange, orange glow with some sandy color for Dune. So yeah.
Right. Real quickly, because you're talking about the color palette, right? For Dune, that's what you call it, the color palette. Or
Yeah. This probably cinematic term for.
Okay. Either way, that's like all. I just wanted to make sure I was saying it correctly because I wanted to say, "Oh brother, where art thou?" has a very color palette. It's almost an old timey style.
It's very
bright,
yellow. So very yellowy, very warm.
Yeah. That
Yes, you're very correct.
like old celluloid kind of like film. Exactly. Like,
Right.
yeah, that kind of feel to it, which I love. Which is weird whenever I was like, I wouldn't like really notice these things, but then later you kind of see, you're like, oh, hang on a second, I'm like noticing like more stuff.
Ever seen Tron?
The original or like
the remake?
I've seen the newer one where it's like his son goes into the thing, but it's very, very blue.
Yeah,
very
that's
blue.
the point.
And the Matrix being very green.
Very
like
green, yeah. So there's that's. I mean, I understand what you're talking about because most of them, and I try to have something in my photos that way a little bit, So depending on the situation, if I want a color palette or not, but yeah.
Right. That's like there. I'll show you here after a bit. But there was a couple pictures of this girl, Caitlin, I met at the Easter shoot that we did, and she's a model also. But it was just a random occurrence, like how it's like weird how the universe is like, all right, you're on the path.
Right.
But anyway, I shot hers, and I know that my style, I really like a lot of vibrance in it, and set, not over, but I like it to feel lively. That would be my, I think maybe that would be my natural style of shooting. Like that's.
I'm a big color and detail guy.
Yeah, I love that. Like
color and
that's
details.
I'll show you. Yeah, you'll see.
What I like.
Yeah, because it was cool too. Okay, I'll talk to you about this. Because when I was editing it, she has this beautiful blouse on and all that. And I think whenever you look at it, it's like almost like a pink salmonish collar.
Okay.
In a way, but in the editing, you could make it look almost like, I wasn't like trying to make it look whatever, but I was just trying to make it look real. But there's like things where I could, if I added certain things to it, it would look whiter and all that. But I found a perfect one where you could see her skin like underneath it, and then it make the collar pop like this violet, like beautiful, beautiful thing. But I like that one a lot more because I'm like, holy shit, I can see like the layers of it. You can like see through and see like her natural skin underneath it, and all that because it was meshed like sort of right here.
Right.
But like so like that was good. Like, but I love like that kind of thing. But it depends on the style of like I'm going for though too. I'll change it up, but no, that's what I'm saying. I think that's my natural style.
Yeah.
Good amount of vibrance, not a whole lot, but like make it beautiful, make it pop.
You saw the picture of the guy with the glasses, all the red flowers behind him in the black.
Yeah. I remember that now.
Yeah. Okay. So I pulled all the green, all the yellow, all the orange, all the purple, all the magenta, everything out except for the red and a little bit of orange for his skin. I pulled all the other colors completely out, desaturated, boom, 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 gone. So it only had basically the red, and the black, and his skin tone. That was the only colors in that, and that came out really nice. But then, so I'm getting now. So I think about color, individual picture color, about what's. And that's good. We can talk about editing another time because that's a whole other discussion about getting the picture today, aperture, shutter speed, ISO, all that's the white balance, all that's good. That's the technical part.
Okay. You mentioned shutter speed, and I kind of do want you to mention on that. I mean, again, I've been doing film photography for a good amount, but I'm not, I don't know if I would say I'm lazy, but I'm not that great when it comes to some of the research. Like, I might look at it, but I'm not, I don't know. Talk to us about shutter speed and light.
So, shutter speed is how fast the shutter opens and closes.
Okay.
All right. So, think about a light like water again.
It's probably something, yeah, but like it just.
Okay, so you have an opening this big, and if you only want a little bit of water to go in,
right.
Fast shutter speed. Okay. So if you're now fast shutter speed will do. There's two things it does primarily. It freezes motion.
Okay.
So the faster your shutter speed, you get around 250, 1/250th a second, 1/300, 400, 500. You're going to be starting to the point where you're freezing action no matter how fast it is. Some situations you might need to go faster shutter speed.
All right.
To freeze the action.
And sorry, I didn't mean to.
No.
I was gonna say in my experience shooting, like I've noticed just like messing with the shutter speed and all that, like how it was like doing, but I never really like realized that that's what It's like I knew what it was doing, but not really. You know what I mean?
Right.
I didn't really put it together. Like I knew it was like, okay, this kind of does, but I didn't really understand its like effect with the light. That's what it was. I didn't know how it was working with the light. That's what's like.
Yeah, if you're
I
shooting
understood it,
sports or something, or I shoot bicycle racing or something, you have to have a really, really fast shutter speed to freeze the action. Again, depending how fast they are, fast the action's moving. But if you're doing a studio shutter speed, you can go instead of 1/500th of a second for somebody, in a bicycle going by. You shoot a studio, you can go 1/80th of a second.
Gotcha.
Because if the model can hold, click, and then you can let a lot of light in. So now the other thing what a fast shutter speed does, if it's super bright out, you go a really fast shutter speed to not let that much light in. So it'll freeze action, and it'll also bring down the light. If you have really, really bright conditions, you usually run a high shutter speed.
Gotcha. So that's good because like again, like I would use it, but I didn't quite, like I said, register it with the line and all. But that makes sense. So you want like a high shutter speed whenever you have sports and stuff because they're so moving.
Right.
And all
but
that.
if you have plenty of light, I mean that's
Gotcha.
But so then you have do I want to have blurry action, but at least I get pictures. So
right, that was another thing too that I noticed too was the blurry action. So you would never shoot probably a high shutter speed if you're doing mostly stills. Would you want a little bit in case she's moving? Because I like some candids to where, say I get a model doing this, but she kind of does a move in there, and I'm able to capture that move.
Shutter speed, aperture, and ISO. You change one, it affects the other two.
Okay.
Okay, so if I change the shutter speed from 1/250th of a second because it's just way overexposed, I'm completely blown out, and I change it all the way up to 1/1500th of a second. Okay. Then, because I'm making such a really fast shutter speed, I'm not going to get much light in. So do I boost my ISO, which increases the sensitivity of the sensor, or do I make the aperture wider? Okay, so they're all so every time you change I move the ISO, I'm going to go from, because I can't use it at ISO 1500 or 2000. It's just too much noise. So I bring the ISO all the way down to 800 or something. Well, now the sensor's not as sensitive, so what do? Do I slow the shutter speed down?
Okay.
Go from 1/250th of a second to like 1/100th of a second? Or do I have any more aperture? Can I open the aperture more?
Right. All right.
Most of the time, if you're like low light, you're going wide open, and
Okay.
then you're going to play around with the
Can you establish focus in the wide open, then you can get more.
wide open on the aperture, so then you can look at, because some cameras they get really, really noisy when you go higher ISOs.
Okay.
So you have to manage that. You have to go, okay, I have my aperture's wide open, and if I slow the shutter speed down too much, I get blurry motion. So I got to have a minimum, let's say, 1/100th of a second.
All right.
Its pictures are still a little dark. I'm only at ISO 200. Let's see what it looks like at 800. Okay. Let's see what it looks like at 1500. There's too much noise. My camera can't handle it.
Gotcha.
So you got to find that happy. You got to find that happy medium where you can manage the noise. But that's basically on shutter speed. So the relationship between those three things, white balance. Okay, yeah, it's light. It's natural light, or it's incandescent. The orange lights everybody has in their house. Those are all tungsten. There's no blue in it. But anyway.
Gotcha.
So I don't know.
I was gonna say the camera kind of died, so we're going on audio right now.
Okay.
We're at 28 minutes. Is there anything else you want to say? Anything you want to kind of?
No, we're good. I'm just.
You gotta want to end with, because right now I might just let the I can edit this audio out and just let the logo kind of roll in over it while we're talking.
Right.
But real quick, who are your name your inspirations into photography, man, and we'll wrap it up after that.
Okay, so there's Ansel Adams, of course, because he did a lot of landscaping. And I went to Yosemite, so I did a lot of backpacking there.
Gotcha.
And recently put stuff there like that. But anyway, that's probably it.
photography models with Jerry Rolin, not related to Henry Rollins or anything like that. Just Jerry Rolin, good photographer. I enjoyed having that conversation. I've been doing photography for a little bit, but I'm one of those. I just know what I like when I see it, and I know a little bit of this, but it's like if I were a guitarist, it's like I'm not the guitar tech. I know how to make these beautiful songs and do a little bit of like dadgad or E open G, things of this nature. But I'm not the master of making this damn thing. I'm not Les Paul. I just, shoot the gun and move on. Well, shoot the camera. Anyway, you get it. Oh, mercy. This time I'm drinking the Corona 32 ounce. Now, as you know, this podcast is called Nosotros Trabajamos Duro. It's an honor and an homage to California being originally Mexico, and then I love just Mexicans in general. They've always been the hardest working, most honest, like most American people I've ever known, and everything. So I just want to honor like a good, like awesome culture and all that. And again, if you're out here in California and all that, and you come from like New York and all that, and you're like, well, we can't get a good pizza. Shame on you. And what are you, a mental fucking ill? We got tacos out here in California. Tacos. It ain't pizza by the slice, motherfucker. It's tacos. Jose's making something nice. Jesus is going to bless it. And what are you going to do? You're going to eat something nice. You're going to have something good. Anyway, it's after Cinco de Mayo, but happy Cinco de Mayo. France is a bunch of pussies. Napoleon, they exiled him, and then God even said, fuck you, Frenchie. And you see what happens. But anyway, let's talk about this. Apparently, from my Mexican friends when I worked at the car wash and all that, they would tell me, like in Mexico, you can actually, these are 32 ounces here in America, but in Mexico, they're 40 ounces, like just straight from the Corona brewery or whatever. Now, apparently, if you go down there and you save the bottles, and you go down to that Corona factory down there in Mexico, or factory brewery rather, down there in Mexico, and I don't know if there's but whatever. They'll refill them for you for like free or basically free, like just very cheap. But I've also was told they call them caguamas. So if you hear someone say caguama, it is, and it's also kind of like a thick big chick, say caguama. Sí, estás bien, muy pusa. Anyway, I don't have to get into all this bilingual sexual shit. But anyway, I'm just helping you out and enjoying this. And again, fuck liquid death. I'm at war with that motherfucking bullshit company worse than Russia is with the Ukraine. And while I'm talking on that subject, I don't like seeing all these people waving the Ukrainian flag. And the reason is because America just loves a tragedy. It's the next best fad. And I'm not proud about Russia. Putin, you son of a bitch. Anyway, you heard that other podcast. We'll argue in the future, whatever. But anyway, people are just waving this flag to pretend that they're involved in doing it. It's the same thing with the mask. If this was like the hype of COVID and all that, people would be having Ukrainian flag masks, and I'm sure that they have them. And it's like, you're just celebrating to be acknowledged for I'm doing the right thing. Get a life. Do something else. Why are you out there jumping on a bandwagon that you really don't care about? In the next year, what are you going to do? Do you idiots remember that one dude in Africa raising hell, fucking up kids and all that? And let's be honest, there's that happens with 20 of them every day. So but anyway, the main idiot I'm talking about is Comey. Where remember that what pedophile wannabe was doing shit in San Diego, and he people were whatever. Well, people forgot about Comey, and I knew that shit from the beginning, and I wrote an article, and the professor got mad at me with that article. But fuck him. Well, look what he's doing now. He ain't doing nothing with his life, and I was right all along. So, meanwhile, the whole continent of Africa is pretty much jacked up, especially in the Congo, Sub-Saharan, parts of Nigeria, civil war, and all that kind of shit. And you're going to jump around I'm going to make Coney famous. Bullshit, you idiot. You're trying to make yourself look famous, you're doing the right thing. Why don't you talk about the rest of the country and what's going on with civil war? Meanwhile, you got one moron hacking people up with a machete. Fuck you. Fuck you. That's still going on in Somalia. That's going on in parts of Ethiopia where they're starved out. And a lot of you people don't even know fucking the Italians went in there in Ethiopia instead of a bunch of vineyards and had a bunch of great wine. Did you? Nah. And I know what you would do. They'd be hacking people up, As long as you didn't see it and you're at your little resort, white motherfucking liberal, and probably 2 little Republican son of a bitch, you're all the same to me. You all really are. I know what you do. You sit there, oh my god, we're not seeing the Africans today. It must be beautiful. It must be beautiful. Oh my god, we met a French person here, and they said this was just like France, but a little bit drier. Go to the Congo and just get eaten by a fucking, like, goddamn giant lizard. Please. Please, do the rest of the world, in America especially, and Africa especially since you're there, a lot of good. Jesus. There's just too many dumb people out there, and I had to comment on it. But anyway, talking about those kind of subjects, and the podcast where we had, photogs, models taking beautiful pictures in the backyard. Well, here during COVID, we had speakeasy parties with comics and all that, just beautiful and good time. Well, like, the neighbors and all that, I guess I didn't like it a little bit, but no, one night it got kind of, like, out of control, but, handled quickly, so bah. But anyway, this is during the day, this photog shoot, and my model shoot, rather, and I go outside, and across the street, like, pretty much every neighbor is on there watching the house. They can't see what's going on in the backyard. I mean, I let one of the models in, and then, like, I'm looking out there, and there's only 6 people over, but like, there's like 10 people across the street. All the neighbors have their chair. They're watching the fucking house. I don't know if they're waiting for something to happen. I'm like, this is only shit that white people do. This is only shit that white people do. You're gonna sit there and watch, like, there ain't nothing for you to see. The music wasn't even loud for you to hear, and meanwhile you've got nothing better to do, and you're gonna just sit across the street and watch the house. And like, when I wave at him, no one waves back. This is some shit I'd expect in West Virginia, but I guess it's just whitey in general when they ain't got nothing to do. So if you suck, it's probably on you. Get better and go from there. Drink Corona. If you're going to Mexico, don't stay at a resort. Don't fuck yourself. Get the 40 ounce and check out town. If someone like, a cartel person starts like spoofing, just pay someone like $10 and be like, hey man, I need a guard. And if they got a gun, you might see someone get shot. And you're on vacation. People want to hear that shit, especially if you're like, got a cartel. Hey man, I paid a guy like a gun because like I paid a guy like a bodyguard to watch me because someone was like spooky. And then all of a sudden I walk out and my wife was like, oh my god, what happened here? And I went down there to look and like my shoe was untied and guess what? I heard gunshots and the guard got shot but he killed somebody and I got my $10 back. You never know that, but anyway, the main thing before all the shooting happens, check out Corona. Get some get some beer there, get the Kawama 40 ounce. That's all I can really say, I'm also drinking Hint to stay hydrated, no sugar, no additives. It's just pure water. You drink like royalty. And that's all I'm gonna say right there. Check out my novella Bluesman. Audiobook's coming soon. Chapter 1's out already. Summer's pretty much here. Get your bucket salt. Oh, fuck. What the hell? People, you fuck up sometimes. What are you gonna do? You saw that right there. Well, good thing I ain't got xenomorphs coming. But get your bucket salt and get your literature, your beverages. And enjoy summer, baby.